So on this week's episode of A Conversation with the Stars on the SWAU's official channel, we've got a great guest. Currently is starring in Section 31 on Paramount Plus. It's the wonderful Sven Ruygrok. Sven, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. And Bryan, thank you so much for reaching out. And I'm just so blessed and so grateful to be here, really.
Oh, do you know what? I am blessed as well for you to be on, because not only are you in a great movie, but you're from South Africa as well, from Cape Town. And all I want to know is are the jackass penguins still at Boulders? Because
100%.
Do you know what?
100%.
I spent
You're not going to get rid of them.
Oh, it was amazing, honestly. So I spent a month in South Africa, just in a small town above Fishhook. Which I don't know if the Bell is a pub near Fishhook.
The Brass Bell.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the one with the outside
Classic.
pool. And it was 2 for 1. It was cheap as chips, I've got to say. And then I went up to Neisner and Stellenbosch, and I went to Simonstown, learned about Just Nuisance, and I fell in love with the country. I fell in love with the wine, the people, the whole shebang. So I'm jealous that you're there now. What's the temperature like? Is it quite warm? It is this time of year.
Oh, it's we in summer, so this is great. But Bryan, I got to be honest with you. I moved from Cape Town back to Johannesburg, and there's a whole long story about that. But I'm now in Joburg. Yeah.
Oh, where they call the traffic lights robots, which I think's hilarious.
Absolutely.
And you go through the red lights. You never stop. Apparently, you don't stop at the red lights. Yeah.
Red is like, hey, just look left, look right, but go.
Yeah. But let's talk about your acting career, because you didn't start out as an actor. You started out as a gymnast. So what was it about this path that you wanted to take? How does someone go from doing gymnastics to acting in the theatre and on screen?
That is an incredible question. And oh man, I wish that there was like one through line, but I think maybe there is. The through line would be divine intervention would actually be the through line. So my love, my passion, my everything when I was really quite young. I mean, I was gymnastics. So I started gymnastics at the age of 3 with something here called monkey gymnastics, which is like, people would come to like your pre-primary school and you would do a bit of stretching or whatever. And I took a keen interest to this, and mainly because, at home there are multiple horror stories that my parents couldn't get me to get off. Like so a lot of our like perimeters and safety measures in South Africa are quite high, and I would climb what we call burglar bars a lot. And they basically just protect your windows and your glass doors, etc., from people entering. But I would be climbing up these things or ladders, and I had an incident once where my dad left the ladder for not a minute. And Bryan, as you know, with kids, you leave anything out for less than a minute, and something's going to happen. And I climbed up this ladder, and I fell with the said ladder onto and through a glass table. To this day, I don't have a single scratch or anything. I don't know how that happened. So they were more than happy for me to be like, great, gymnastics.
Oh, you've gone blurred on the screen. You've gone.
No,
there you go.
I know, it's really hard. So sorry. Also, bad connection. I'm in Africa.
Oh, bless you.
So my parents were very much like, cool, go for it. And that was my love, and that was my life all the way up until, I was 18. But just before I was 18 years old, so I'm entering my last year of high school, I had a really bad knee injury. I dislocated my knee. And that kind of took me out for a year. And again, it was around the time of discerning, like, what are people going to be studying at university? And my hope, my dream was to kind of get a scholarship, because I was representing South Africa internationally. I'd go overseas, get a scholarship and study something like, I don't know, finance or psychology, one of those stock standards. Yeah. And when this happened, I was like, no. Maybe I should study, well, like what requires the least amount of effort? I was like, you know what, this acting thing, try that. Because I had already done acting in high school. Performance was part of like my family in terms of my background. So my mom studied to be an actress, but she never went into the industry. So doing plays and rehearsals and recitals and poetry kind of was like in the background, but it wasn't like yes, this is what I want to do. And yeah, then I decided to study, and at that time gymnastics kind of was picking up. I did a lot of commercials as a kid, and the commercials kind of paid for me to continue doing gymnastics and to travel because it's a bit expensive. And I got an agent, and that agent at the time was like, there's this film coming in South Africa based on a very popular South African novel written by John van der Reet, about a boy who goes through boarding school, an all boys boarding school, and the process of those 14 to 18 years of life and all the shenanigans that happens. And I loved this book. I was a huge fan of the book, bearing in mind that I never really used to read a lot. And this was something that really drew me back into literature as a teenage boy. So I auditioned thinking nothing of it, and I was told that I was too old for one of the main characters, so I should audition for what they have as a prefect. And off I went, did my audition, went to university, applied, got in, moved my entire life from Johannesburg back down to Cape Town. And not 2 weeks later, I got a call saying I landed a role with John Cleese in a feature film. And that's kind of where it started.
And then it went on to actually do 3 films of SPUD, which I'm yet to see this film, and I need to see it, because the great thing about having guests on this show is that I get to explore new films and new shows that I've never seen before. And I've got a poster here from the second one. I've chose that one because you can clearly see you in that poster. I mean, John Cleese is like a national sort of hero. He's part of British history for us. What was he like to work with? Because apparently he's got a wicked sense of humor.
Oh, 100%. Look, I think because I was so young, but I was very naive. I didn't know what I was doing. At first, I was a little bit like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? And I remember very distinctly when he arrived on set, all the suits came around and the directors, and you could see just everyone started to flock around him. And I'm just observing from a distance, and everyone's laughing their heads off. And I'm just like, is he really funny? Or are you all just like taking the mickey here? And then through the process of filming, he really drew us in as a group of boys. And he, like Bryan, he really is wonderful. Charismatic, joyful, cheeky, very cheeky, and just really would bring us in, like very much like, your Mr. Chips would bring us into life and the world. And, hearing it from, like you said, an icon and a legend, all his stories is like, you would be like, no, that's not real. That didn't happen, surely. And he brought a lot of joy, a lot of wisdom, and a lot of life to this film.
And when you started out in this journey, did you have a plan in place in what you wanted to achieve? Did you have like a vision board of who you wanted to work with, directed by, and what sort of genre of, part of the industry you wanted to be in?
No. Would be my very no, I was like literally flying by the seat of my pants kind of situation. I took it one day at a time. I definitely had a bug for it, but that bug started early on, probably when I was about 16. A drama teacher introduced me to some great literature, one being Peter Shaffer's Equus. And there was like no way there is a world out there that I'm not privy to, and that's what I love about literature is that you can go through things, have experiences, genuine experiences that you would never have outside of your own house. And it's very similar with film, is that you can go on an adventure, a ride, a story with somebody and be like, wow, I'm enriched, or sure, I was moved, or wow, I need to, self-reflect and be like, I need to change my life. And for me, that was kind of the escape, was going to a world that could be completely different to mine. But knowing my personality, my character, it was just like, okay, what's next? How do you do this? So very unplanned, very unprofessional, very like, hi, who are you? Are you a producer? I'm an actor. What do you do? Kind of situation. So very much like not very planned. I think as I've gotten older, definitely far more curated.
I mean, has your sort of approach to the industry changed since you've got a family? Because this industry isn't like working, at a bank or having a 9-to-5 job. So has your attitude towards what jobs you take or what jobs you go for changed since you've had little sprogs running around? Your change in approach to the industry. I mean, have you had any moments, when you've decided that this is a path for you? Have you had any moments on any jobs that you've done that you thought, do you know what, this is definitely for me? That eureka moment that it's like self-validation that, you know what, I've made the right decision.
And well, I don't think that there's been one specific thing that has stood out to be like, yes. I think there's multiple little rungs on the ladder that are affirmations that keep you moving towards the next step. And I think that's important because in my head as a young actor, I thought it must be very similar to corporate. You start here at the bottom, you're a runner, and you work up the ladder, and then, you there. You CEO, you MD, whatever it is. And the reality is in acting, there is no roadmap and there is no path, which makes it both incredibly adventurous and exciting and petrifying and horrible to be on at times, because you can have the most incredible talent. And I've seen so many people who are incredibly talented and gifted who are not working and veer off and do something else. And I've also seen other people who are not necessarily gifted and talented, and they go from, as we would call it, the overnight success. So they've missed all the rungs, and they're just like, no, I was in a shopping mall and somebody saw me and bang, I'm in the film. Yeah. So there is like no way to gauge it, except for me. And I plan to do this for a very long time. I want longevity, just consistency. So for me, there's just small moments in my life. But to answer your question about family, has it changed the way in which I view the industry? Yes, dramatically so, and only for the better. What do I mean? I think for a while, there was definitely a part, and it comes and goes, don't get me wrong, it waxes and wanes, that I thought my family would get in the way. They would get in the way of this thing because it's very difficult to sustain a family on a fluctuating income. B, you have no way to plan or budget. You could be doing an audition now and 2 weeks later you need to fly to Peru. You could be doing an audition now and nothing happens for years. So there is no way to... And really only recently have I come to this great peace that my family's not in the way, like they are the way. And I know that sounds so like lame, but what do I mean? Is that my children and my wife have given me the most amount of fulfillment and encouragement and an enriching experience of life. And I think to be a good actor, a really good actor, I wouldn't say great, but good, you need wisdom. And wisdom can only come from having lived life, from having lived experiences. And they have opened me up and filled my cup and enriched my life so much so that each character that I play or portray or enter into has more depth, more wonder, more joy, more craziness because I'm living it, I'm in it. So I think profoundly. And then the second part of that is also, I don't take myself too seriously anymore. Like, I think, kids, they do that for you. Like, they have no idea that I've got an audition in the next 12 hours and I'm desperately trying to learn lines whilst cooking and doing the dishes and I'm holding a baby. Like, they're like, whatever, what are you doing? They often will say, Dad, why are you talking to yourself? Or like, please stop. So they bring humility.
Yeah.
You can't be like, sorry, I need my space of my inter-feeling galactic, like they're like, yeah, we need to eat.
Yeah.
and it just brings you down to earth and goes like, oh, actually, this is important, but this is not my everything. You guys are.
That's an awesome way to put it. And then going from that greatness just then to the greatness that we're currently seeing on Paramount Plus that's doing amazing in the UK. I've got a picture of you here and you look incredible, I've got to say. There you are.
Wow.
I mean, how incredible is it to step foot into the Star Trek universe? So if you could tell us a bit about your character and a bit about the film for anyone under the rocks that don't even know that it's out when they really should.
Yeah. Okay. So this is known as Star Trek Section 31, and Section 31 is like a black ops division, and it's very contentious because basically Section 31 does the dirty work that the Federation cannot. They are the people who go out and do special ops, and to almost make sure that this utopia, this Federation, remains in good light or in good standing. And we follow this group, and it really follows the story of Emperor Philippa Georgiou, and it's her story of where we find her and who she is. There's a little bit of backstory there of who she is, where she's come from, why she is the way she is, and she's offered to come on a mission to get back in on the action. And through that, I think it's a story of what does it mean to sacrifice and a story of redemption. And I play this crazy guy called Fuzz, who is, and how do I describe this to people? He is a tiny, intelligent, microscopic organism who is driving a Vulcan conveyance. And that is the best way to describe him.
And he's such a good character. Literally, 1 second he seems unhinged, the next he's funny as hell, and it's just a great journey to watch him. And I've got to tell people, if you're going to watch it once, watch it twice, because actually you notice quite a few things when you watch it twice, and you think, oh, how did I miss that the first time? But it is great. I mean, when you auditioned for this role, did you know it was for Star Trek? And did you know because a lot of auditions, they normally keep it quiet. They normally keep it secret. So how did the audition look like? What did you have to do for it?
It was wild, Bryan. So basically at the time, I was backstage. I was busy performing a play, and the play was on in South Africa, in Cape Town at the time, called The Beauty Queen of Lenan, which is a Martin McDonough play. And it's a phenomenal play, and these characters are set in Ireland, in Galway. So it is very accent specific, and yes, we did do an accent, and it was trained with dialect coaching, etc. And I was backstage, and I received this email from my agent, and it came via like every other. It wasn't special until I opened this document, and they used a very specific software that I was not accustomed to, that basically was like in red, bold, flashing letters, like, if you open this on a separate device, it will self-destruct. You only have 48 hours in which to, or it will self-destruct. If you take a screenshot, it will And I was like backstage going like, huh? Like, what is this thing? And at first I auditioned actually for the role of Quasi. And I had crazy hair. I had like shaved hair on the side. I had a mullet. I had an earring. because the character that I was playing was like an Irish yob, to put it lightly. And he was a youngster, and it's like a no-gooder who's bored. And as we know, there's nothing more dangerous than a bored teenager. So there I was. I auditioned for Quasi. I received a call back, and they said, "We'd like you to read for this other character." And I was like, "Oh, okay, another audition." Very grateful, but whew. And I remember reading it, and I remember going like, "What on earth?" Because the opening scene is actually the first time we get to see the team, and that was the scene where we're seeing this crossover of dialogue between, and as they described it, was this tiny nanokin, a new species never before seen, only known to Section 31. But he's driving this Vulcan conveyance, and they are conversing whilst other people are also conversing with them. So there was multiple dialogue, multiple things. And I was like, the best way to kind of break this for myself, to make it distinct and clear without literally doing crazy facial expressions or doing the comedic, this person is talking. Now this person is talking. No, it's this person now, was to do accents. So because I had the Irish, I was pushing the Irish mixed in with the American, because the whole point was, and I don't know, you must let me know, can we give away spoilers? Is this like spoiler free?
Yeah, no, you can. To be fair, if they haven't watched it yet, shame on them, because they should watch it. But if you want to give a spoiler out, by all means.
Okay. So there are these two like conflicting inner dialogues that are happening, and for the Vulcan, which we see here, there aren't. I mean, look, in Star Trek, there is no Irish Vulcan. So I was like, no way. I don't want him to stand out. I don't want him to be like draw attention to him for reasons we'll find out. So I did American, because you wanted him to be the boy next door, everyday, simple. And then as we viewed this nanokin, this new species, then I started to play with, wow, you could do everything from tone and range and accent, and we played with a whole bunch of things. And then I read, and I actually did the full like online audition. And Bryan, I have to be honest, that audition story will go down in my memory as probably one of the most stressful and the worst auditions of my life. Wow. And I'm not being dramatic. It genuinely was. And I'll try sum it up. I mean, I don't know how much time we have, but I'll try and give it in like a very brief, condensed version. Whilst doing a play at night, during the day, on some days, I would also part-time teach. I would teach teenagers. So we're looking at like 10 to 18-year-olds, acting out of joy and love. This school was about a 7-minute drive from my house. When I saw that I got the call, because of the time difference, people in Toronto and New York, the casting director had asked, please, can we do this callback with director, producers, writers, myself, etc. Can we do it at 7 p.m.? And with anybody who has kids would know that 7 p.m. is like one of the worst times, because you are in the midst of the chaos, the bath, bed, story, routine. Yeah. So my wife very cleverly was like, why don't you ask the principal of the school if you could go and do the audition there? Therefore, you're away from the family, you're away from the kids. It'll give you that time that you need to kind of just be like, I'm doing my thing without somebody screaming, crying, throwing something, etc. And I was like, great idea. So the day before, I prepared. I get this, I get to the principal. We have a whole chat of like how this is going to go, what room I'm in, where I'm in, the keys. And also what people don't realize is here in South Africa, we have load shedding, which is periods of time where we are without electricity. It comes in stages and waves, but sometimes it can last up to 12 hours. So I'm also in the height of load shedding, and I have to figure out, how will I do this? I need a generator. I need a backup generator because I need lights. I'm going to need internet. I need Wi-Fi. Like, how are we going to do this? So we came up with a whole contingency plan. It is now the day of. I get to the school super early. I'm about an hour early for my audition, so I'm there at like 6 p.m. Lovely. I walk into the reception. I'm like, hi, I'm here. I'm going to go to the sound room to set up. Do you have the keys? No. I'm like, no. Discussed it with the principal. I just need the keys. No, we don't have the keys. They're not on site. Okay. They must be here. So now I'm trying to figure out where the keys. Eventually phone the principal. He's at dinner. He's like, yeah. I'm like, listen, I need the keys. Yeah, he's like, no, go look downstairs in the basement. You'll find the thing. You'll find the keys. Now I'm in the basement. Now it's like 20 past 6 with my flashlight, trying to find the key of 32A, XY. And I'm like, where is this going? Looking for the keys. Can't find the keys. He's like, don't worry, I'm on my way. Now I'm panicking. I'm locked outside. I can't get inside. I'm waiting to set up. So I'm trying to set up all my stuff as much as possible. He arrives. It's like 20 to 7. We open the doors. This is amazing. My lights go up. My camera goes up. Everything's there. I'm ready. It's like 10 to 7. I'm sweating. Bryan, I'm sweating now because now I've got 10 minutes to set up. Is everything working? I can't connect to their Wi-Fi. There is a block. They have a security block. So now we panic. They're phoning their IT people. I've got 2 people on the line. He's trying to phone their people like, what must Sven do? What is the code? We can't get him in. No, he's blocked. He has to use a separate computer that's a school computer because his VPN doesn't work. So they're like, can you use my computer? I'm like, no, I can't use your computer because I'm trying to mirror what's on my phone because it's just me. I'm a one-man band. I need to be able to see, like, am I actually in frame? It's 5 to 7. And I cannot get hold of the casting director because, again, they in the States. So it's like a good 7 hours behind me. So I'm trying to get hold of my manager. They trying to phone them, etc. Like, we trying my best. Sven is really struggling. It's 3 minutes to 7. I phone my wife and I say, love, I'm coming home. I race out of there. Lights literally flying out of the car. I pull up into our house. My wife had pulled, bless her, had pulled my 2 boys out of their bed, like literally with the bed. They're still inside. Moved the bed. We set up lights, everything. I joined at 5 past 7. So I'm already 5 minutes late, which for me is just like I'm a ball of a mess. I log on. I think everything's set up. And the first thing I see is everyone's face go, Sven? The camera's flipped. They're just staring into like my boy's wardrobe of like underpants and shirts upside down. I can see everyone's, and I'm like, this is just not working. My camera's now not refocusing as I try and flip it around as they see my pits and I'm sweating. And I eventually had to pull all my equipment and just do it on my laptop. Just plain, no special sound, no magical lighting, no nothing. And that was my audition for Fuzz.
Oh, wow. It's like a comedy of errors. It really is.
No,
I mean, how stressed you must have felt like to do that performance. But you know what? It worked. You got the role, which is great. Yeah. So was it your decision to make Fuzz have an Irish accent then? Or was that in the script already?
No, so it wasn't scripted. It was a collaborative process because basically I'd thrown out, when I auditioned, we tried multiple things. I did American, I did British, I did Irish, I did South African. And as time went on, and once I finally landed the role, I had conversations with the director a lot. And we had chatted about accents extensively because I'm not a huge fan of just doing an accent because you can. Why? It doesn't make sense. But I also was very clear that I didn't want him to have a South African accent. Although I love my South African accent, I have no problem with it. I wish I could see more South African accents. But the reality is, for who he was and what he does in this storyline, I did not want to draw attention to him or to make him stand out so much that it would be, wait, who is this? Why is he here? For reasons that I hope your audiences will watch. So what ended up happening is then they wanted very much, the note came down like, because there is a mishmash, a melting pot of people coming together from all sides of the galaxy, and you really feel it in terms of flavor. You've got British, you've got American, you've got there's Mel does like a Latina accent. There's me. You wanted them to feel like this was a ragtag team pulled together for a very specific mission. And then from that, I wanted to take it further, because what is an accent? That is a big question. And I have received a lot of flack with regards to my Irish accent. And I do have to just apologize humbly. But it is very specific. What do I mean? Is that I didn't tune my ear to your Colin Farrells and your Saoirse Ronans of the world. My ear was attuned to a very specific actress who is, I think, phenomenal. And you'll know her in things like The Banshees of Inisherin, called Kerry Condon. And Kerry Condon's from a very specific place in Ireland. And her accent has something which I was looking for, which is melody. So she does really extremes. She draws everything out, So she really goes like that, where most people now do not speak like that. You would sound like a leprechaun, But I wanted to draw that out because I wanted this almost otherworldly feel, because he is a new species. But secondly, I wanted this lilting, this up and down, so that you would think that he was sweet or enduring or charming or cute. And then we find a bit of that.
Yes.
So that was really the collaboration and the inspiration behind it. Did we succeed? I don't know. But you know what? I'm proud that I got the opportunity to try. And go big or go home.
I mean, Star Trek as a franchise is massive, and the last time we saw Philippa was in Star Trek Discovery, and then now we see her in Section 31. I mean, when you got this role, knowing how big this franchise is and how much backstory there was, I mean, did you have to get your head deep down in all the material to try and get sort of as well versed in the Star Trek universe, or was it a case? Because the thing is, what I like about this film is that there are Star Trek movies, and the wonderful thing about these films is that it gives you something different. Because if all these Star Trek movies were the same, it'd be kind of boring, wouldn't it? So what I like about this, it is part of Star Trek, but it's not, if you know what I mean. It's exploring a new direction, and I really like it. So how much backstory did you have to, learn?
Bryan, I'll be 100% honest on two fronts. The first front is I am a baby, like an infant Trekkie. So my journey has really started because of the project. It wasn't like Star Trek wasn't something that I grew up with, and it wasn't in my frame of reference. But it is so big that you know about it because it has informed culture for a really long time, for decades. However, given my position now and my stage of life, my life stage, I do not have time to watch over like 9,000 episodes of and. So in the beginning, I'm not going to lie, I felt obligated to and felt like you have to. But then through counsel and a lot of chats with people, the decision really was, and I thought it was wise for me, stick to your lane, which is there is a script. It is like no other. As you rightfully point out, it's something that is Star Trek. Absolutely. There's a bit of history and there's through line and there's a thread, and we know these characters like Philippa Georgiou, Section 31, but it is also a standalone. So my preparation really was stay in your lane and stay true to what is presented before you, which was you have this script, this is the material. Just work with that. And everything that informs that, which is a lot, try and do as much research as you possibly can. And that kind of was my takeaway. But you also mentioned such a really great thing, because a lot of fans can also be, I think, maybe disheartened that this is not Trek and it's completely different and what are they doing? But you phrased it so well. which is, and a colleague has actually coined this, and I'm going to steal it from him, which was, Trek isn't for you, it's for everyone. There are going to be pockets that you will like and things that you will dislike, but that's okay. Everyone's got their place. We weren't trying to, ruffle people's feathers. I think we did. But the hope really was, we want to bring new audiences in. That really was the hope. People who haven't, and that was so great about it, is that you can just watch it like in isolation, so that you can then use it as a stepping stone to go, who's Philippa? What is Section? What is Star Trek? And a lot of people have been like, yo, I have never seen a thing of Star Trek. And now, thanks to you, like we watching. Great. Like that is the hope, is to bring a new generation into the Trek universe, but also without letting go of the old. You don't want to completely throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I mean, I remember when Star Trek Discovery came out, and everyone was complaining online, and Star Trek Discovery, I think is an amazing show. I've had quite a lot of the cast on, from Wilson Cruz to so many to mention, and I just love it just because of the representation and the diversity. Because remember, this is a world far in the future, so it should reflect in the direction that we should be going in as a human species and everything like that. But it's quite nice that you put it that way, that it's for everyone, and that's why people should be watching it sort of with an open mind and enjoy it and enjoy that ride, because the action in it is incredible. The performances in it are incredible as well. I mean, have you got a favorite scene that you're really proud of from like an actor's point of view, that you walked away thinking, do you know what, I'm really pleased with that?
I think what, look, I also must mention that, again, we did, I think, a phenomenal work, and as a cast and crew, and a lot of people say this, and no, I've worked on quite a few projects now. I can say with great conviction, it was a wonderful experience, a wonderful family, and everyone wants the best. Given our restrictions, which is we had to make it's a film for TV, there are restrictions, and one of those is a time restriction. We were limited to 95 minutes on the dot, no more, no less. Bryan, a lot of great stuff, a lot of improvisation and fight sequences and character building moments was left on the cutting floor, and that is just the reality. But having said that, one of my things that I was like, oh man, I wish I saw more, was a fight sequence that I have with our leader, which is played by Omari, and his character is called Alak Sahar. And we have probably about, I think it must have been about a 4 or 5 minute fight on a specific vessel. And that fight was incredible. I mean, because I used my gymnastics background, and because I wanted him to do a fight that no one has seen before. And what did that look like? And I kind of gave this in an interview once, was he is a microscopic being. What would it look like? And he's got multiple tendrils, like tentacles. He almost looks like an octopus meets a cockroach, meets a microorganism, a bacteria. What would it look like if you had a gamer, and I'm thinking particularly of like a teenage gamer, who plays all day, every day, and is so quick and nimble with their fingers? Imagine if they had 10 remotes. What would that look like physically? And Fuzz, in this fight, he goes from like floor to standing. I jump off walls. I do like an aerial twist. There was even a handspring over like a console. I climbed up the wall. There was a flip. There was a putt. Like it was beautiful. And the great thing about the fight sequences, and Michelle is very good at this, is that there isn't a punch or a hit or something that isn't character specific or without meaning. Like, you don't just throw a punch, like, okay, I just feel like I'm going to do this now. There is motivation and meaning. And the story that we are telling between myself and Omari's character, it was more like a dance, a love dance, like a love story. Whilst at the same time, you having this other story that is happening at the same time for people who are going to watch this film, which is also a love story. It was probably one of my most challenging parts of this entire of the filming process, and it was just really, really wonderful, and something that I'm incredibly proud of the work that we did. Whether or not people will see it, I'm okay with that. I knew what we did.
Do you know what? There is a part in that fight that you did that I thought looked awesome. Was when you was on the floor, you sort of cracked your neck, and then you did like it was like a monkey sort of like crawl, and then you sprang up from it, and I thought that looked awesome. Like, literally, you don't know which direction you were going to go from, and it looked very primal. Sort of.
Yes.
Yeah, and it looked. Ooh. But then you have some great scenes with Michelle. And Michelle, obviously the Oscar-winning actress and martial artist legend that there is. I mean, how amazing is that, to be opposite such, a legend and, stepping toe-to-toe with her?
I think it really is one of those, like, is this real? Like, is this actually happening? I think, look, for me, there's always a sense of reservation and a bit. Clearly not when I was 18. I was like, who's this John Cleese guy? But as you grow and you start to admire and respect what it takes to get where these icons have gotten, there is nothing but admiration. And it's very difficult sometimes to perceive the person with all that admiration and expectation, and to see them as just a human. But once that veil is lifted, and you get to know her, that was the great gifting of Michelle. I mean, yes, is she phenomenal? Absolutely, she's won an Oscar. What is her physicality like? Out of this world, Bryan. She would get up every single morning and stretch for 2 hours prior to call time. Wow. That just shows her dedication, okay? So, like, just having that extreme level of commitment and focus, you go, wow. But her great gifting was to be able to enter into a world and to see her childlike nature come alive, without air or grace, in the sense of, like, I'm too pompous for this. This is beneath me. I'm not going to, the lines are the lines. Just do them as they are. Sorry, you're not a martial artist, specialist, Sven. You need to hit like A, B, and C. And please be careful of my right defibula, She was just so wonderful and so warm and so inviting and so playful that I got to experience, which I think is very special, the child Michelle. And what a wonderful interaction that was, to be able to share that on screen. That for me was like, oh man, beautiful.
And obviously the film is out now. And, is there a WhatsApp group that you're all part of? And are you all talking about like the release and everything like that? And do you keep in touch with a lot of the cast still?
100% there's a WhatsApp. 100% it is very active. It was actually James Liao's birthday not a day ago, and we were all singing and wishing him happy birthday from across the globe. And there's gifs and pictures of our kids and like random like things that you're like, what? You sent this? And yes, there is a lot of that. And there's also just a lot of encouragement and support, because we knew, and studio knew, that there would be pushback going in. So we already knew from the get-go, before we even made this, that there would be a lot of like online angst and fieriness, shall we say. So there was a lot of encouragement and a lot of like, just guys, be ready. Be ready for this, because Section 31 in and of itself in Star Trek universe is already a contentious issue. Now you want to make a film? actually, which prior to, it was supposed to be a series,
Yeah.
a real like a TV series. So again, we were ready for it, and I think just the love and the support and the joy that we have, and the place that we hold in each other's lives is wonderful. They're like good friends that I can call up. I mean, I phone people regularly. I send voice notes often. Like, what about this? Because also I'm clueless in the world of Star Trek. So we have a Trekkie on board, and that's Rob Kaczynski, and he's been an incredible mentor and guide for me. And because of his personality, which is very much like c'est la vie, it is what it is. He will tell you straight, like, this is what it is, this is what's going to happen, and your shirt looks funny, I wouldn't wear that color. Like, wow, thanks, Rob. And that's what I loved about our friendship, is that what you can trust him. You can trust them, and all of them. And we spent a lot of quality time off screen. And it wasn't just like, oh yeah, shame, we felt like we had to. No, you're all grown adults with lives, but yet we still chose to come together and do karaoke, and we did cold plunges and dinners and really invested in each other's lives, because that was our life for 3 months.
But you know what? I hope we get a second one, because it's not going to spoil it for anyone, but
Yeah.
there is room there to have another adventure, and I hope we get another one, because I think you guys deserve it. I think that the world needs more Section 31. But I want you to be honest now. Did you take anything? Did you take any mementos? Did you steal anything from set? Did you keep your ears?
No, I mean, okay. Yeah, yes. So the ears, we can't, once they are on, you can't reuse them. So it's a very specific type of synthetic material that is used, and then they glue it onto my ear. And then by the time we, I want to say pull, yank, rip, tear, shred, cut it off, you can't really use them again.
Yeah.
But they did have spare. I think they had like 2 spare leftovers. But by the time I left my 3 months of Toronto, coming back now to South Africa, I was like, it's just not worth it at customs. Like, I love you, ears, but like, you're not coming with me, because I do not want to be stopped. I want to go straight home, and I just want to be with my family. So no, I didn't get to keep anything. And I'm really sad, because this jacket that you see that you pulled up here,
it's awesome.
It's so funny because it looks black. It was actually like an olive green, like a rich olive green. And it was, man, I want to keep that jacket. That, and I had a double phaser, which was wild. And you hardly see me fire it. But actually, there were a couple of sequences where I was doing some crazy dive rolls, doing a double draw, which was amazing. So I wish I could have kept a phaser, man.
So, right, we need to get in touch with Section 31's prop master and try and get hold of either the ears or the guns for you, or the jacket, because I'm a strong believer in that you walk in those shoes, you should at least get a few items to take home as a memento, at least, because, you worked hard. You really, really did. I mean, how amazing was it going to the premiere and actually seeing the film in its full glory? Because, we see some amazing special effects, visual effects. I mean, compared to you filming them on the set, compared to what you see it, in its full glory, how gobsmacked were you, as they say, on watching that final product?
Yeah, I think gobsmacked is the correct word. And I think maybe more for me, it was like almost like a jigsaw puzzle, and the final piece that you get to put of like a 2,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. It was so satisfying, and it clicked in to be like, oh, this is actually where it belongs. I did feel that it needed a cinema, really, because of the scale, because of the world, because of the action. It lent so much more to draw you in as an audience. So when I got it prior to, I mean, we were sent a link via to, because again, as an actor, there's the script, then there's what you shot, then there's the multiple other takes that you think you shot, but you may or may not have got it, etc. Then there's the edit, and then there's the final product, which I didn't want to be like, oh, what is, But when I watched it the first time, and this was what was so difficult, is like you're watching it on your laptop,
Mm.
on this tiny little screen. And as an actor, it's very difficult to watch the film because it's all I'm seeing the first viewing is a montage of 3 months of my life. Of like, oh, that one was sick. I remember that. Oh, that one did that. Remember that. Oh, that was so cold. Why is there snot on my nose? Like you're just going through it, being like 3 months of your life, like a show reel. And then when I got to see it in the cinema, it clicked because then you have this, and for me is what Star Trek is a community. It's a family coming together to watch something, to enjoy something, almost like a hearty meal. And that was the joy of it, was that I got to share this meal with both friends and complete strangers, and enjoy it almost in its rightful setting. Yes, everyone can eat a hamburger, but eating a hamburger with a beautiful scenery, with friends in a right kind of restaurant, with the music playing and the candle, and that, it just makes the atmosphere completely different. And that for me was a great treasure.
Definitely, definitely. And, I wish we could see it at the cinema. There's certain shows that are on these streaming platforms that I just think I would die to go and see that in the cinema, like the big screen, especially like the Zack Snyder stuff, like Rebel Moon and stuff like that. So now that you've been in Star Trek, you was in
Yes.
One Piece as well. I've got a picture of you in One Piece. You are like, there you are, there you are.
Ooh.
Conventions. Have you ever been to one? And would you go to one as a guest?
I would look to put it out there for people. I'm desperately trying to go to conventions because I want to meet people. I have been to my first ever convention. It was Comic-Con actually in Toronto whilst we were filming, and it was my first experience of what that was like. And I was like, I don't even know, I want to say mind blown, but it wasn't. It was like spewed and sprayed all over the floor because I was gobsmacked, not just at the extent of worlds, but the depth, the love, the attention to detail, and the passion. Like people were dressed up in the nines of their characters in the anime, and like no stone was left unturned. Like the detail of their costuming I was just like, this cosplay is amazing. And I was just like, look, don't get me wrong, I love these worlds, but I'm less interested in the world. I'm more interested in the people.
Mm.
So, yes, I want to come to a convention. I'd love to sign your stuff if that's what you'd like. I'd be happy to have a photo and a hug, but I'm more interested in, who are you? Where are you going? What do you desire? What do you love? What makes you come alive? That's the conversation that I wish to have. And it's always better to have it one-on-one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can't wait. And I hope I go.
Well, do you know what? There's lots of chances. There's great conventions in the UK and in America. I got flown out to Chicago last year to go to C2E2. And it's the first convention I ever went to in the US. And I've got to say, mind blown is an understatement. Literally, it was the biggest place I've ever been in my whole life, and I've never been into comics. And I got a crash course into comics, and I got chatting to some wonderful people. But let's see what we can do. Bring you to some conventions, because now not only One Piece, not only Star Trek, you're like a convention organizer's dream, because literally you're ticking all the boxes. So what's next for you then? Now we've got Star Trek, paving the waves now on Paramount Plus. What have you got planned for yourself now? Is it a case of putting your feet up and enjoying the buzz around the show, around the film?
Look, I don't think I can ever just put my feet up, given the fact that I have 5 kids and
Yeah, that's true.
five kids, 5 years old and under. So feet up, definitely not. There is a sense of just basking in what is, but again, given context, like we shot this a year ago. So for me, what's next? Look, I will be appearing in season 2 of One Piece. So watch out for me there for a brief spit and a polish. But I'm excited to work with I'm excited to work with creatives, people who have a vision and have a desire to be bold and risky and try. Like I'm not very, I'm very picky, but I don't think experience always is what's going to dictate it. Like, oh, you must be a phenomenal director and you must have directed so many features before. I'm like, if you are talented and you are gifted and you are joyful and you love what you do and you have something to say and it resonates with me, I want to say it with you. I want to use me, be that vehicle to get your project out there, because I know what it's like to be a struggling artist. I know what that's like. It's tricksy. So my gifting would be, or at least my hope would be, I just want to work, and I want to work on really good stuff, meaningful stuff that has an impact or moves people. And I don't care who it's with, but I want to be able to tell great stories.
Yeah, yeah, and telling great stories is such a gift. It really is, for people to watch, because you provide escapism for people that are going through hard times, or they're enjoying it with loved ones, and it's just fantastic. It really, really is. But Sven, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I know we had technical difficulties, but do you know what? It is fine, because the whole way through, we didn't lose your voice once. And I will tag on this video your Instagram, because you're quite an inspirational person to listen to as well. Especially a video, if I recall, about Christmas. And I think you said about getting gifts for the loved ones and your kids and everything like that, and that resonated with me so much, because when I was a kid, I mean, my dad sadly is not with us anymore, and I can remember the best Christmas I ever had was I was sat on the sofa in sleeping bags, because my dad didn't have the heating on because we couldn't afford it, and we just sat there and watched TV with some Kit Kats and some wagon wheels, and there was no gifts whatsoever, but it was the fact that I had time with my dad. So what you said on Instagram really resonated and got me in the feels. It really, really did. So anyone out there, you need to be following Sven, because you are an inspirational person. You're an amazing artist, and you're just amazing in this show, in this film. And I'm going to check out SPUD. And I'm going to check out One Piece, because like what you said earlier, having kids, you have difficulty finding time to do things. And there's so many things on my list. So they are on my list. But Sven, look after yourself, keep safe, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to you.
Oh, Bryan, it's been such a blessing. So really, thank you.